Good evening. A sports stunner and his breaking news tonight.
University of South Carolina head football coach Steve Spurrier is retiring. Sports director Pete Yannity is here to explain how this all unfolded. Pete.
Really, over the last hour and 45 minutes or so, around 9:15 tonight is when we got the word, and not long after that, various reports followed. But we've confirmed through a source, and since then the AP has as well, that Steve Spurrier will step down in this his 11th season at USC. In fact, the state newspaper and the AP also reporting that Spurrier told his team tonight and that his move is effective immediately, meaning it won't be Spurrier who finishes out the season on the sidelines. Instead, an interim head coach will be named on Tuesday to finish out the campaign. A campaign, of course, that has been a disappointment, especially by Spurrier's standards and what he was able to achieve at South Carolina. 2-4 so far, their first 0-4 SEC start under the ball coach, and their first of that kind since 1999. And just not the way, of course, a great legacy, not only at USC, but as a college head coach, you would have expected would come to an end. But Spurrier, during his time at South Carolina, over a decade, nearly 90 wins. He's the winningest head coach in the history of the program. Of course, he won a national title at Florida, where he amassed most of his nearly 230 college coaching wins. And he did some big things in the late 80s at Duke as a head coach, and at Duke as an offensive coordinator in the early 80s, and then at Florida in the early 90s. He revolutionized how you had to play defense in two different leagues because of the spread, or not really spread, but the fun and gun offenses he brought, especially to Florida. He completely changed the SEC, which was a two-back lead and kind of, run first. When Spurrier got there, he made defenses change around the SEC. Huge news. Obviously, tomorrow would have been his weekly news conference to look ahead to the Vanderbilt game. We suppose instead, obviously, it'll be a much different kind of day in Columbia.
We'll be watching.
Yep, and much more coming up later in sports.
All right, thank you, Pete.
Standpoint.
We are here, and we are strong. And even though this is a tragic, that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that there is goodness out there still.
It has been a day of sorrow for students and faculty at USC Upstate. They are mourning the loss of 4 students who died in a car crash over the weekend.
This all happened early Sunday morning on 4th Street near Highway 9 in the Boiling Springs community of Spartanburg County. The Highway Patrol says the student's car went off the road, hit a tree, and burst into flames. Joshua
Lee, James Campbell, Sarah Vanberg, and Horace Sproul died in the crash. A 5th passenger, Felicia Alberg, was taken to the hospital and is in fair condition tonight. 7 on your sides. Dave Jordan was at tonight's candlelight vigil for the students, where people said this tragedy has been a tough pill to swallow. Certainly so, Dave.
Absolutely, Tom. USC Upstate mascot is called Spartan Strong, and that's a phrase that was repeated several times tonight at this vigil. The gathering was a means of remembering the classmates and encouraging students on campus to be there for each other.
We pray for our student body, who will miss the laughter of their friends.
There are no words to describe the shock and disbelief students are feeling over the loss of 4 popular students at USC Upstate, but Sierra White found one.
It's very surreal. I'm still in shock. I know a lot of the athletes are. It's just kind of like you wake up and you get the text and you're just like, this isn't real life.
White is on the track team and trained with Joshua Lee. She was also friends with Sarah Vanderberg, who was on the tennis team. Both White and Sarah were slated to graduate in May.
It's starting to hit everybody, but everyone's here for each other. We're coming together very, very well through this tragedy.
Student government member Zane Gray is also unable to understand the deaths of students he met in class and orientation.
It's one of those situations where you try to go about your day-to-day business to the best of your abilities, but you're all aware in the back of your minds of kind of what's happened to the campus.
Perhaps that's why they came to this vigil tonight on the USC Upstate soccer field, looking for answers or understanding. Their student body president had none.
I never thought that when I got sworn into office as the student body president 6 months ago, that I would be standing here before all of you guys today addressing something like this.
The vigil ended with prayers and a balloon release and a somber reminder.
Don't take life for granted. Life is short. Count every day, count your blessings.
And this is the latest in a series of tragedies for the USC Upstate campus. 2 other students prior to this weekend passed away, bringing the total death to 6 students within 6 months. A huge loss for this campus. Back to you, Amy.
Oh, Dave, thank you. New tonight, our media coverage partners at the Independent Mail tell us they've filed a lawsuit to get state agents to release the dash camera video of the police shooting of Zachary Hammond. Officer Mark Tiller is accused of killing the student in a parking lot there at the restaurant during an undercover drug sting July 26th. Several media outlets, including 7 on Your Side, have asked for that video under the Freedom of Information Act, but the agency has refused to release it, citing the ongoing investigation. The lawsuit claims SLED violates the FOI request by withholding the video. 7 on Your Side again asked for comment regarding this new lawsuit, but a spokesperson says they haven't received it yet. Tonight, 2 people have been sentenced to 12 years in prison after they were convicted of human trafficking. They're the first to be convicted of this crime in South Carolina. Investigators say Colin Mendez and Dencia Irado held someone against their will in Greenville County for the purpose of sex trafficking from January 2013 to April of 2013. The conviction is coming after the legislature passed a human trafficking bill in 2012. Investigators say if you know someone involved in human trafficking, you should call the number on your screen. It is 1-866-347-7888.
Well, the weather now. Sunny skies earlier today, cool temperatures tonight. 24/7 Chief Meteorologist Christy Henderson is here to tell us if pleasant weather is going to stick around. Christy.
Well, Tom, for most of the week it's looking pretty good, but out to our west we are tracking a cold front that's got some rain with it, and some of those showers will survive the trip into the western Carolinas. Right now, most of that is across Tennessee, but moving in our direction. For now, things are very quiet, though, and we've got temperatures that are in the 50s and 60s. Steady cool down on the way, but we won't go too much farther with the cloud cover. We'll stop right around 60 degrees by morning. Slight chance of showers and then better weather in the afternoon. I'll have much more coming up in just a few minutes.
Well, things are starting to get back to normal around Columbia after the historic flooding, after even more rain hit last Saturday. Debris cleanup has begun in some of the hardest hit areas. People have to gut their homes and pile the debris out there on the street. Most schools are open again, but not Richland District 1 because 29 roads in Columbia remain closed. The boil water advisory has been lifted for a big chunk of Richland County, but there are still about 73,000 customers without clean drinking water from the tap.
We do not anticipate lifting it system-wide anytime in the next day or two. We're going to be several days, possibly weeks out.
On building a temporary dam on the Columbia Canal. A breach in the levee on the side of the canal is allowing much of the city's drinking water to flow into the Congaree River. They anticipate finishing that dam to raise water levels sometime this week. Greenville Health System wants to become a private, non-profit organization with a self-selecting board of trustees instead of being governed by South Carolina lawmakers. It's a controversial move that has the Greenville legislative delegation wondering if it's legal and if they could be facing a legal battle moving forward. Tonight, another step in the discussion, the Medical Affairs Committee recommended that the delegation get a lawyer to handle legal matters. This includes a lawsuit that former GHS board members filed with the state Supreme Court to get a definitive ruling about whether the hospital's plans were possible. The delegation decided not to act on that recommendation until their next meeting and asked the Attorney General if hiring a lawyer is something they should even do or could even do. Meanwhile, GHS President Mike Reardon is hoping the Supreme Court will rule in their favor.
I'm hoping to hear that the board is acting within the authority, that the deal points that we have make sense, are good for the healthcare and for the patients and for the community.
We make laws, we create laws. I'm not sure we need to be ruling on laws and getting involved in a lawsuit. So at this point, we're going to kind of step back, communicate with the hospital system a little more and see if we can kind of wade through all of this.
Representative Nanny says an opinion from the Attorney General could take several weeks, as well as any ruling from the state Supreme Court. Nanny says she doesn't expect this to be a quick process.
Tonight in Rock Hill, the police are trying to determine if charges will be filed after a 2-year-old boy shot his grandmother. Police say the boy was riding in a car with his grandmother, found the gun in the pouch at the back of the seat, and shot the woman in the back. Police say the woman is expected to survive. Now the police are considering charges against the woman's sister who owned the gun and the car. Officers are also trying to figure out if the 2-year-old was riding in a car seat.
Today, North Carolina Attorney General Roy Cooper announced he is officially in the race for governor. Cooper is a Democrat hoping to unseat the current governor, Pat McCrory, a Republican. Democrat Ken Spalding of Durham has announced already that he is also a candidate for the Democratic gubernatorial nomination. North Carolina's primary election is March 15th.
Next at 11, a woman's drunken night on the town turns dangerous for her and others on the road. She actually filmed the whole thing. We're going to show you what happened next.
Plus, the first Democratic presidential debate is less than 24 hours away, but those running against Hillary Clinton may have their work cut out for them. We'll tell you why.